All I really need to see is that I'm in focus and that my screen is on, and I need to see my levels on the microphone, and that's pretty much it. So this works, doesn't it? Hey everybody, I didn't think I'd be here again, but here I am filming another YouTube video. It's so 2019. I wanted to give you an update of what's happening in my life. I know this channel has been abandoned, and I'm sorry, it's YouTube's fault. I felt abandoned, so I'm sorry I abandoned you. Now, for the ones of you who don't know, I used to be a Fuji shooter, and then because of 4K and because of all the other restrictions that the Fuji camera had for me, I decided I want to film YouTube videos like the pros do and have a proper camera to do that, with a flip out screen, with better video capabilities than my X100VI had. And I decided I'm going to try the Sony cameras. That was a year ago. It wasn't good for me at all. The Sony camera just kept on changing the settings on me, and it was confusing, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I spent almost $100 on books on trying to understand this camera. By the way, it was an A6700, and yet I still came up short. The Fuji system for me is just more user-friendly for me. What I really liked about the Sony was, yeah, the flip-out screen and the camera that you could buy from Sony, or now also third-party people that can communicate with the camera without having to plug anything in. And those are the two things that I'm really missing from the Sony camera. But everything else, and understand me correctly when I say everything else, for me is better on the Fuji. The colors, one thing. I don't like messing with f-logs and grading and all this other. When the color looks good in the camera, why do I mess with it? Try as I might, I've never have been able to understand the whole color chemistry on the Sony side. The cooked images. I don't know if you understand what I mean when I say cooked images. Cooked images in a sense that the dynamic range was always way too pumped up. And on the Fuji, you can have the same thing, but you can also turn it completely off. And I have not understand how to completely turn it off on the Sony. It kind of didn't work. I'd never got a blown out picture on the Sony, which is kind of like really weird for me to say that I would want that. But sometimes you want that. You want really dark shadows and really bright highlights. It's just something more organic about that. The viewfinder was terrible. Also, the monitor, it was worse than I was used to. And then there was this other problem with my Sony. I bought the Sony last fall, and I got, in very short order, 4 lenses to go with it. I had a 15mm that I used for studio videography or for landscapes, which I love that. I love that lens. An f1.4 from Sony, but then I wanted to take some portraits too, so I got the 30mm f1.4. And then I thought, there's a f2.4 zoom from Sigma, so I got the 18 to 50mm from Sigma, f2.8, great lens, so sharp, so great. And I just couldn't get used to this camera, and I took it with me whenever I could. It was back. It's a behemoth of a camera. Take more than one lens and suddenly it's just so much. I tried to adapt it to who I am and how I take pictures, and I ended up not taking it with me anymore. It was just sitting at home when I was taking pictures with my iPhone. And I knew I had to make a change. I literally crawled back to Fuji. I slept on the announcement, the famous Fuji X100VI announcement at the end of February. No, I don't want to go to that camera. No, I want to make this Sony work for me. And then I looked at all the reviews that came out about the Fuji X100VI, and they were so good. Everybody was just raving about this camera. And I'm screaming, I know it. I had that camera. I used to own this camera and I loved it so much. I used it for 3 years. And then I sat down with myself and I thought, why did I get this Sony? What did I want to achieve? I wanted to film more videos for YouTube. Did I do that? No. Is this even important for me? No. In fact, I filmed a video a few months ago telling you all that I was done with YouTube. No more YouTube for me. That's when I decided I'm going to pre-order the Fuji X100VI. Don't care. I'm going to pre-order it. Pre-ordered from a local shop here in a chain. It's not a shop, but it's a local drugstore that has a photo department. It's a big company. London Drugs. Yeah, it's in Canada. It's called London Drugs. Ask me why. It's not even in Ontario. We have in London, Ontario. It's have nothing to. I don't know why it's called London. Don't worry. It doesn't matter. It's not important for the story. Important is that they wanted the entire amount up front for the camera. You want that camera? Do you want to pre-order it? You better pay us now. And it wasn't so bad because I ordered it on March 3rd, and on their website it said expected delivery March 18th. March 18th came around, no delivery. Expected delivery March 25th. March 25th came around, no camera. Expected delivery April 2nd. April 2nd, more and on and on. You get my point. Call them as much as you want. They have no information. You're on a list. You're on a list. It's going back. Sorry, we can't tell you. And I said, you have my money. You really can't tell me anything? Long story short, I then decided to pre-order from 3 more camera stores. These didn't want any money up front. One of them was Camera Canada in Ontario. One was a local camera store a little further away, about an hour drive. And the third one was another camera store, local in Vancouver. In the meantime, I still didn't use the Sony. I have a camera that works perfectly fine, I said to myself. Why do I behave like I can't use it? It didn't bring me any joy. Zero. All the excuses not to take a picture with this camera. And don't get me wrong, the few pictures I took was so sharp. Maybe sometimes things are too sharp. Is that a possibility? We went on a trip at the end of July on Vancouver Island. And as I'm there, I get an email from Camera Canada. Hey, your camera that you pre-ordered is here. Can you please pay us? That seems fishy. I'm not doing that. So I called them and they said, oh yeah, that was us. They told me, we have a confirmation from Fuji that we're getting 6 cameras the end of the month. Okay, so I paid for the camera and I canceled my pre-order with London Drugs. So the first week went by, no delivery. I called Camera Canada and said, so what's going on? I thought it was coming in a week. Yeah, we're still waiting. It's just, there's some shipping delays. There was some bad weather. Fine. Next week comes around, still no camera. I text him back and I say, okay, what's going on? Well, it's coming at the end of the week. And I'm like, that's what you told me last week. And that was on a Tuesday. And then on the Friday of the week that the camera was supposed to arrive, I called them. And they gave me a little bit of a runaround. I talked to somebody who didn't know, then they passed me to another guy who didn't know, and then they passed me a third guy. And the third guy was the one that had been texting with me. And he said, yeah, Karen, guess what? Your camera just arrived. And we're shipping it out today. So a couple days later, the camera was in my hands, and I couldn't be happier. I can't show you now because I'm filming with it, but I'm going to show you the camera as I'm filming it with my iPhone, and I'm inserting this in this spot here. So you see that I'm not full of BS. I really, truly did get the camera that everybody has been talking about for the last 3 months. And it's kind of unfair because people have been ordering cameras before me and they're still waiting. But it's not really my problem, is it? I'm back, baby. I'm back. I know what I'm doing. My settings are great. The images are great. the sharpness is there because now we're looking at 40 megapixels. So 40 megapixels on the 6 compared to the 26 megapixels on the 5 makes a whole lot of difference. And the images are sharp. I really don't, like, I kid you not, the images are sharp. I got this bag from Bellroy. It's a sling bag. And I bought, you see this? Let me take it out. This is a chalk bag. You put chalk in when you're mountain climbing. Well, I'm not mountain climbing, but I have a camera, and this nice fuzzy material is really good. And I put this in my camera, in my bag, and I sewed a button in it, and now it hooks in there. And now it's in there, and I just throw the camera in there. It's safe, it's protected, it's soft, and I can pull it out whenever I quickly need it. It's the best camera bag for the X100 is, bar none. Fantastic. I would have never been able to do that with the A6700. It's just too big. And they may be the same weight, but the fact that there's a pancake lens on that X100VI, it's just, that makes all the difference. It's not an f1.4, it's not an f1.8, it's an f2.0. But it's still, I don't know, there's something about this camera, and I've been telling you for years now, that just makes things look good. One of the reasons why I was so unhappy with the Sony is that I didn't know what lens to bring every single time we went somewhere, and I'm like, oh my God, what lens do I bring? Do I want to bring more than one? I don't want to bring more than one. I just want to bring the one, but which one? Should I bring the 15 millimeter? Like, should I bring like the wide angle, or should I bring more like a portrait? The zoom, should I bring the zoom? But the zoom is so big. It's just like, it's big and heavy. If that zoom was so heavy, that Sigma 18-50, it's great, but it's heavy. And then the camera, it gets so big, it like literally becomes a box. And that's why in the end I didn't want to take it. And then every time they announced a new lens, I'm like, I need to get that new lens. I need to get that new lens. This is all gone. All these questions are all gone. This camera doesn't have an interchangeable lens. It comes with this one lens. You can put a couple filters on it, like this conversion. I'm talking APS-C now. This is a 23 millimeter fixed lens, but if you mount the wide angle conversion lens on it, you get 18 millimeter. And then there's a tele conversion lens, and that makes a 35 millimeter. So you have, in one camera, when you spent the $2,000, you get a 23 millimeter. If you spent another $300-400, you get the short end. And if you spend another $300-400, I'm talking American, you get the long end. So you have three possibilities. That's it. There's no birding, there's no sports photography. That is a good thing, I think, for me. No more debates. What do I take? That's all I'm taking. This one camera. Like, this little camera is now part of my goal to turn my life into a simple life. We have altogether too much stuff, and I'm trying to get away from that. Yes, I had to buy something else to make that possible. It's kind of an oxymoron that in order to have a simple life, I added more stuff to it. But I did sell everything that was Sony. Everything was gone. I sold my microphone. I sold the camera body. I sold all lenses. Everything that was branded Sony is now gone. And it's just a weight that was lifted off my shoulders. I'm squarely back into the Fuji cam, and I couldn't be prouder and I couldn't be happier. And the fact that I filmed the video today should tell you something. I'm overjoyed with this little camera that can. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I'm just going to go with the flow where that little Fuji takes me. And I will hopefully, maybe, see you in my next video. Bye.